those deals with very, very happy partners for the future. What's exciting about now is that the largest percentage of our R&D dollars ever is going into more innovative proprietary products, both on the consumer side to support the starting point strategy that Jerry talked about, and also on the advertiser side to support our ambition to be a must-buy for the industry and to power the largest ecosystem in the industry. We have a number of, like clockwork every quarter, very, very exciting new developments coming out, and the teams are really excited about that, and they want to show the world what we have, because we've been working on it for a while and very quietly behind the scenes, and there's a lot of excitement about that.
I want to pursue the new platform, but first I want to ask you kind of it's kind of a candid question that's living in everyone's mind, and it's really one of the reasons for the conference, and also for the IAB ecosystem strategy. We have among our membership, we have platform companies, we have branded publishers, and basically branded publishers are scared to death about this consolidation scenario, about platforms becoming larger, more commanding, potentially commoditizing their inventory. What kind of response do you have to that? What do you say to branded publishers who are worried about what's happening to their traffic, to their audience, to their pricing power? Is there hope for them?
I'll start. I feel that I feel that the internet and the web is probably the ultimate expression of what people can do with creativity and intellect. We saw that day one. When we saw websites being created, we saw that as an entire industry has been created, I would say the primary complaint I've heard over the last 13 years is that the web is not a creative medium yet. It doesn't allow us to create. It doesn't allow us to really apply the human intellect that makes the rest of the web so great. And I think what we're doing now is, instead of commoditizing, is really building the building blocks, the foundation, the tools, the ability for, creativity and people and intellect to really make the web a much more efficient medium and much more creative medium. I understand the fear. I think we've seen the fear over time, over multiple industries. And I think every time there's technology coming on board, there's always people who worry about disintermediation and the ability for people to continue to add value. I've also seen that time and time again. Anytime there is technology introduced, I think people who understand how to leverage it, people who understand how to work together, create more value on top of it through their intellectual creativity. I would say that the conversations we have now with the right tools, and when we show these tools to our partners and agencies and publishers, the reaction is, wow, I can do so much more. And that reaction to me is the first step towards this becoming a much more efficient and much more, a much better medium that allows the people element to come into play a lot more. So
let me probe a little bit. One of the components of your platform, you bought Right Media during the past year. One of the predominant and early online advertising exchanges. Now, Linda said in her remarks last night, she said, "Don't sell advertising inventory like pork belly." When people see,
I never sold pork belly.
But when people see exchanges, they're concerned that that is part of what's going to happen. On the other hand, other people look at it and say, it's going to take a lot of these costs out of sales. I mean, what is the future of food? What's the future of exchanges in your platform, but generally in the web?
Sure. So, and I think it relates right back to your question about how this affects all the existing publishers. We really see the exchange as a very, very critical part of the broader platform. It's definitely not the only part, but it's a critical part in terms of driving openness and scale. And we think that's really important. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is we're trying to simplify the process for any type of publisher, whether they want to sell directly in this exchange or they're part of an ad network, or whether they have their own sales channels. And one of the things that we think is so exciting about what's happening now is that if we could decrease, as an industry, if we could decrease the friction out of the process, it should only increase the yield for publishers because that creates value for marketers. So fundamentally, our ambition is to increase the yield for all publishers on the web, and we're obviously the largest publisher, so we benefit from that. It's not a totally selfless act, but we're fundamentally focused on building the platform for the industry. And one sort of example is I touched on in my opening remarks is there are many, many publishers that have unbelievably premium inventory that are selling that directly. But they're running out of inventory, and they have under deliveries, and they can't sell enough, and they sell it terrific at rates because it is so valuable. Imagine if they could go sell not only their inventory, but Yahoo's similar audiences of our inventory or other publishers' inventory. Suddenly, they can offer a much more scalable audience buy than they could before. That's only going to increase the pricing and the dynamics because it's creating value for marketers. So we see the fragmentation of the web, and which is only going to increase because of the platforms and tools and openness that Jerry talked about, as the key challenge for the industry to create value. If we can figure out how to aggregate demand and aggregate supply as an industry and find that perfect match of audience to marketer, we should only enhance the value of all inventory out there. The other point I think that it is important in this is, as Jerry was talking about starting points, we're talking about a much broader advertising approach than we had before. We're narrowing our consumer approach to really focus on those starting points and open up in a way to drive more and more traffic to those starting points. We'll have an announcement this week, which is pretty exciting on our homepage, where we have already been opening it up to third-party publishers, refreshing it 20 times a day on a more manual basis. We're going to talk about a way to automate that, which fundamentally allows us to surface the very best content on the web. So you can imagine as an independent publisher, we can surface the best of the web on Yahoo and funnel our traffic to that. That should only increase your opportunities to drive traffic and ultimately monetization. That's a fundamental part of our strategy. So we really see this as a way to empower the industry to create more value both for content and for advertisers. And we see this newspaper consortium as kind of our lighthouse customer to demonstrate that. We are driving traffic to them. We're taking the best of the content and offering it to our local audiences and vice versa. And we hope to allow them to tap the $12 million local budgets of advertising that have not migrated to the web as much because of all the friction in local.
Can you walk me through that a little bit more? Because I do think that is a primary your branded publishers. They've had a commanding lock in the local marketplace, many of them for years, and they're worried that's going away, but they're also not sure how to expand or where to expand. So how does the platform work with them specifically? Like I don't know, the Atlantic Constitution, and I want to work with you. How is that happening? Very specific, short form answer to this, kind of vast question.
I'm going to be saved by my voice not working.
This is one that we didn't talk about, so I'd be curious your answer.
Well, I guess I would start with, I'm going to be quick because I really lose focus. We think that it's easy to stand here today and think that we are, look at the past and see how much has developed. But in many ways, we think that where we are today will look like black and white television did from where we'll be in 5 or 10 years. And ultimately, we see the internet commanding a larger share of budgets, a larger presence in the industry, a bigger impact on consumers, and actually working collaboratively with some other forms of media because there's a lot of ways that you can combine broadcasts with online to create even better experiences for marketers and consumers. So we see it moving rapidly in probably in the same direction